Bless up for tuning in to Project Chaney. Magic happens when you question everything. Conspirituality becomes reality, weirdness is welcomed, and it's okay to change your mind. Big up yourself.
Hey, you guys. Welcome to another episode of Project Chaney. As always, I am Chaney. I am super lucky that this week I am joined by Earth Angel Reiki, a really good friend of mine named Bianca. She is an internet friend. I think internet friends is a really funny term that's going to keep coming up on this show because of how many near and dear internet friends that I actually have and how many of them you're going to meet. Because of the way I record my episodes, and then I kind of just release on what feels good to me after the episode I did before it. So if you listen to my show, you listen to Megan, also one of my internet friends. Don't mean to brag, but I have cool internet friends. Bianca is somebody kind of different that I met in my spiritual awakening, kind of. We met in a chat room of a whole bunch of open-minded, awesome people. And of those open-minded, awesome people, the chat room just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And she kind of goes into it a little bit. And as it narrows down, Bianca's definitely one of the people that I correspond with even on a one-on-one basis. And in a like MTV Road Rules real world of it all type way, we would be quite the pair of the cameras following us around, because the outside world, or how we grew up, or maybe our social or economic or religious or spiritual, or who knows what those circles that is created around us in society. Maybe me and Bianca would have never met each other. But with the beauty of the internet and the beauty of chat rooms, and maybe, just maybe, the beauty of her and I being very authentic and raw with each other, we developed a friendship. And she is like no other friends that I have. And I may be like no other friend she has. And maybe the more we all live in our authenticity, we're all like friends nobody's ever had. And I believe God exists between us. Like, you're a representation in your authenticity of God, and I'm a representation in my authenticity of God. But if we're both authentic together, the creation of what is formed between us, the Christ energy of what is birthed between us, is where so much truth lies. And I think that's where we get all of our puzzle pieces. I don't want to give away too much of Bianca's story, but I will say that last night was like the super full blood flower Sagittarius moon, and which still looks like it's in Scorpio today. That I'll digress. That has nothing to do with anything. I sat outside for a long time, and the moon was so bright. And I know it's odd, and I know there's that idea that, or maybe it's proven. The moonlight is actually cooler than the moon shade. So it's the opposite of sunlight being warmer than the shade. That's a heady thought for you guys that haven't heard it before. If you're people that are into infinite plane theory ideas, you've definitely heard it before. My flat earthers out there have heard that one before. Some of my space nerds might know that one. But just if you're out there with your hands in the sink of dishes, or buckling your kid into a car seat, or really just here for the 9/11 is an inside job of it all, you might not know that. Anyway, so I sat outside last night, and the moon was so bright. Like, my eyes almost couldn't focus on it, almost like staring at the sun. And I was talking to other net friends online and texting back and forth because I have a problem sleeping. And I stay up all night, every night. I think the eclipse was supposed to start at 4:47 a.m. my time. And my eyes must have just shut with the eclipse. Like I have the last text on my phone. So I know I was awake, but I must have just fallen asleep. Anyway, that was a whole long drawn out tale about the eclipse. But it brings me back to Bianca. Brings me back to her because I'm like, we all do these weird things now when you're on a spiritual awakening. And, maybe for some, you start going to church a lot more, or for others, you start praying a lot more, or for others, you start meditating a lot more. I put a bunch of my stones outside and I let them charge, and I let the moon charge me, and did a couple of mantras, and probably even prayed a little. Talked to the Ether, God, my Christ energy self, Yahweh, Yeshua, whatever name that you want to give the divine thread that attaches all of us. So yeah, you guys, it's getting really weird. I have no cement shoes. I have no religious followings. It's crazy because Bianca has all the religious threads and all the religious followings. Maybe more than any other person I've ever talked to. Like legitimate, hard wired, like if you were to put in your brain the religions that, whatever religions that you're like, oh, if you think that way, there's no getting out. She thinks all those ways. And then she also is a Reiki master. So, what does one get when you are raised a Catholic, educated in the synagogue, and then converted to Muslim? You might just get a fuller picture of the world and a really beautiful light. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Earth Angel Reiki, my friend Bianca. Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Project Chaney. I am so excited. Today I have one of my first internet, or not my first internet friends, but my first internet friend I'm kind of meeting in real life, even though it's not real life. It's pseudo on Zoom, but it's kind of real life and it's exciting. So Bianca, Earth Angel Reiki, welcome to Project Chaney. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me so much. I mean, it's really an honor to be on your show. You know, I've followed your work and I mean, I know who you are and I like where you stand and, you know, I like what you share. So it's just an honor to be with you.
Oh, thank you so much. I always start off, I think it's interesting with you, especially because I've gone through my own spiritual awakening and I know you've kind of had your own spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
So who or what is God to you right now?
Oh, that's a question. Actually, you know, I was in a little chat yesterday and that subject came up. And so I'm glad you asked that because I've already kind of prepped myself in a way for God. So I remember back when we all started talking and you mentioned, I am God, right? You mentioned that. And I was like, like, oh my God, like, how dare she say that? You know what I mean? Like, that's not something, we don't say that. That's not God. And it took me my awakening to process what you said and to understand it fully, what you said and what you meant. And now I completely understand when you said, I am God. I'm not saying I am God, but God runs through me. You know what I mean? So God is everything. God is the bird. God is the trees. God is the flowers. God is just everything. He's the universe. So when I channel my Reiki, I call upon God, source of the universe. Like he is just everything, me, you, everything.
Like we are God having an experience right now.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, many experiences.
Sometimes I'm like, what message does God need to share with me today that has to come forth in the avatar of Bianca?
Yeah.
And there's something about your avatar that I would not hear through anybody else. If God tried on anybody else's flesh to relay whatever message, it would fall on deaf ears.
That makes so much sense. I mean, I think everyone is the teacher and everyone is the student. Do you know what I mean? Everyone can teach someone something and everyone learns something from someone. You know, whether it's only at one point in your life or whether it's at multiple points in your life with the same person, because, you know, that's why friends phase out, because they've kind of completed their lesson to you. And then you kind of move on to find another friend or another person that comes into your life, and then you learn something from them in a sense. And so that's why I love doing Reiki, because I'm learning something new from every soul that I connect to. Like they think I'm doing it for them, but in all reality, I mean, I am doing it for them, but in all reality, they're doing something so amazing for me too.
What is Reiki?
So Reiki is a Japanese, healing energy. People would say it's a massage, but it's not really a massage. It's like a massage or a energy cleaning for your energy, because we are all energy. And just like you would go to see a doctor for physical problems, you would see a Reiki master for energetical problems.
Can any religion do Reiki? Like, can you believe in Christ and be a Reiki master? Or can you believe in Buddha and be a Reiki master? Can you believe in yourself and be a Reiki? Like, how does the energy flow of Reiki work?
Well, the energy flow is, we're basically channelers. So we're channeling from whatever your deity is, you know, so you can channel from the universe, from source. I mean, they're all the same person in the end, Buddha, Christ, you know, they're all from source, from God. So, I mean, it doesn't matter your religion. I think for Reiki, you can't be like a non-religion. You have to believe in something, because that's who is channeling through you. And then you're just a channel.
Yeah, I think sometimes a lot of spiritual people I know that are church spiritual, they get nervous by the idea of Reiki. They feel somehow like it might be demonic, or that it might be like it's against biblical teachings or something.
No, actually, I've been looking it up, and it's there in like all different religions, you know? So I've had this talk, actually. One of the first people, because one of the first people when I got my Reiki masters, I approached this guy, one of my neighbors, and he's a really strong, like born again Christian. And I approached him because he found out he had cancer. And I was like, oh, wow, I just feel like Reiki came at the right time. I need to tell him about this. And so I was kind of explaining it to him. And then he was asking me questions about how does it correspond with the Bible? And I was like, well, like I couldn't answer those questions. And I was like, I left his house feeling so down, you know, and then I went home and one of our friends in the group, I went with her, and I was talking to her, and I was like, listen, this is what happened. And she's like, no problem. I got you, because she's very Christian and she does Reiki as well. And she's like, I got you, Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse. And she just sent me everything I needed to hear. And I was like, well, he was just my learning experience. You know, he was like one of my teachers to say, you got to know everything about this in order to, you know, be able to support it. For those people who, I have an uncle that I do Reiki on, and he doesn't believe in anything. He's just science only. And I was like, all right, well, I just got to find the information on, you know, how to send him with like quantum science and blah, blah, blah. And I shared everything with him, and he was like, oh, okay, I accept it. Let's go. So I think it's just, you just have to have the knowledge in every religion, and even non-religions, how to kind of explain Reiki to people.
So a person has to accept the energy of Reiki.
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's so, and it doesn't matter how far you are.
No, doesn't matter how far you are. And actually, distance Reiki has made a bigger impact on me than actual physical Reiki. So it's blown my mind, the distance Reiki.
What you said that your spirit guides or your ancestors, what word did you use that you have channel through you? What energies kind of do you call on? Is it like if you were to do Reiki on me, would you call on my spirit guides, ancestors higher up, yours, or do they have a conversation somewhere?
That's a great question. So when I do Reiki, I mean, I channel obviously God's source of the universe, and then I channel, any angels and spirit guides of light and love that would be, able to assist us in this healing. So I don't specify, I haven't reached up. I know I have my spirit guides and I know I have my angels around me. But I haven't been able to like target who they are. I mean, I feel like I have my grandfather around me a lot. So slowly it's developing to me, but I just know they're there. And then when I channel Reiki, I call upon them and, to assist me in this, because when I do Reiki, I can actually see like angels and spirit guides, like hanging out around you, and they're just there. And I kind of like, when I leave, I'm like, okay, I leave you guys with her to kind of continue doing whatever work that needs to be done. And I leave like all in my mind in quantum.
Is it only light energy you see around people, or is there also dark energies?
Nope. Well, not that I see dark energies. There's no such thing as dark, like there's dense energy. So dense energy is also heavy and very, so how to explain dense energy is heavy and light energy would be light. And so there is dense energies that are associated with traumas of people. So when I'm doing traumas of people, I experience the traumas. I see the traumas. I go through it. It's flashes. It comes at me. So basically, I always explain to people when I'm doing Reiki, I'm in the passenger side of the car, right? Source, universe, God, whoever is your deity, he's driving the car, and I'm in the passenger side. And as I can navigate Reiki because there are different powers. There's a powerful way of doing it. There's emotional ways of doing it. There's past lives. There's distance. There's different, I guess, trances that you have to put yourself into to go to these different levels. And when I'm doing that, I can basically, as the car is driving, I see these flashes go by in the passenger side of the car. So you're like, oh, there goes the tree. Oh, there goes, oh, was she like raped when she was a kid? Like these are these traumas that go by. I can feel it or see it as it goes by.
And that gives you a fuller understanding of kind of the energy that you're working with in the present, or you're able to release it from then?
Oh, because I see it, it means it's being released. So it means that it's being worked on as Reiki drives through it. That means it's kind of being lifted out of the person. And so there's, a detox that happens afterwards. And sometimes it can be intense, or sometimes it can be very mild, depending on how close their chakras were, how deep their traumas are. So it just depends.
So even things like Reiki, energy, chakras, when in your life did these things kind of come in your periphery that you were like, whether you thought they were kooky or woo-woo-y, or when and what were your first thoughts of these kind of ideas?
Oh yeah, like I've never even heard of Reiki before. Like if you asked me about Reiki, I would say 5 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I wouldn't even know what it is.
So it's like, I really wanted to start out the conversation for everyone to just hear Reiki, because there's a lot of people that listen that they, of course, know what Reiki is. They know everything about Reiki, and to hear you speak and then ask you this question, how long it's, because I think we're on this like sped up timeline where we're all having these spiritual awakenings and these gifts that took people lifetimes to gather. We're just having it rush and open up to us. And it's mind blowing to me watching and knowing you, to watch you kind of go on this spiritual path, but not just a spiritual path, also like a healer's journey, and which is a total another part of an awakening. So the idea that you didn't know even what Reiki was 3 to 5 months ago is insane.
Yeah. It really is insane. And I always say like it was such divine timing, because I think if it didn't happen the way that it happened, I would be in a mental hospital. Like I would they would have to like, my husband would go crazy. Like everybody around me would think I'm crazy. Like it's just divine timing that allowed not only me to accept who I am or what is happening to me, but also my family to accept who they are. Like I come from very, very religious backgrounds, my husband being one religion and my parents being one religion. And they're always very accepting. I'm truly blessed with them, but for them to accept this side of something, this side being so different from what they have been brought up to believe, it's been really, really divine. Like I'm so grateful. I can't be even more grateful than I am.
What religion did you grow up and what religion is your husband now?
Well, so I grew up in Jamaica because I'm from Jamaica. We went to a Jewish school just because, it's Jamaican. You kind of send your kid to a pretty good school for good education and it's close to your home and whatever. So I went to a Jewish school. So I had some Jewish background and understanding, but my family is Catholic. So I grew up in a Catholic house, like First Holy Communion, confirmation, like everything. And then I went to a Catholic high school and I literally like went to the convent by myself on a Wednesday during my lunch break, just because I wanted to go and sit down and be in silence and do that. Like I grew up really, really, believing in God and this religion. And, I really love that. I love that still about myself. And then I met my husband and he's Muslim. So that was just a whirlwind, in itself, because when I kind of told my parents, like, hey, this is the guy I'm going to marry, my mom's like, oh no, like everything in her head was a stereotypical Muslim Islam beliefs. And I believe, like I said, everything happens for a reason. And I think my mom believing in that or saying that has made my husband like be the best man he could possibly be, to kind of prove my mom wrong in every aspect that she thinks. Of course, my parents love him now. And his parents love me. And we are just such an amazing family. And like I said, just everything I think back in my life and everything has been so divine.
Where did you and your husband meet?
So we met in Daytona Beach,
Florida. And you were like, yeah, he's cute. And was it love at first sight?
Not at all.
No, you didn't.
Not at all. I was actually dating someone else, and he came for a 6-month internship because he's from France. So he was living in Paris, France, and he was invited to Embry-Riddle University, which is the aeronautical school. And he was invited to do an internship there. And he comes and he ends up being my boyfriend at the time's best friend's roommate. So he rents a room in that house. And I'm dating this guy and, not even looking at him. And I remember meeting him for the first time and he has this French accent and everything. And I'm like, what a nerd, And
she calls him a nerd, but he's really tall, dark, and handsome. So I can't even imagine a French accent on it.
Yeah. So he's he's new and I, we're just at a party and that's when I met him. And then divine timing, my boyfriend and I, we broke up and he was like, all right, well, let's go out. Let's just go out. You can be my wing girl. And I was like, all right, I'll be your wing girl. And, just because I knew the area, I knew like the guy at the bouncer. So we'd get into VIP. And so I could bring some of my guys up there and I would just basically pick up chicks for him. Like, I'm like, yeah, he's my brother. Because he looks a lot like me. Like, he's my brother. Yeah, like, come meet him. And he'd be like, you're the best pickup girl. You're the best girl. And I was like, yeah. And then as we kept on hanging out, he's like, oh, I want to meet your family. And I was like, okay, well, I'm driving down south because my parents are from, Western Pembroke Pines area. And I'm driving down south and he's like, can I come? I want to go to Miami. I want to go down there. Like, I want to see that side. I was like, all right, no problem. And I bring him down and in the car, he's telling me, I really want to marry a girl who speaks English. And I want to have like English, my kids who speak English. And, I really want that. And I was like, good luck, buddy. Like, I hope you find it, but it's not here, And then I mean, we went down south, we hung out, and then he left. I mean, he missed his flight like 3 times because he just didn't want to go. And he finally decided he's going to leave. And then he invited me to go to France. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about it. And at the time, my job wasn't going so great. And I was like, you know, and my parents had decided to move back to Jamaica. And like, what are the odds? My parents decide to move, and I'm like not really doing, you know, not into my work right now. And I just need a break. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take him up. I'm going to go. And so I went to France, like by myself, like just showed up, and I was like, hey, I'm here. And that was it. We just started hanging out, got engaged, got married, had a kid.
How long?
I mean, we literally got married not even a year later.
So what, at the time, you're Catholic, your parents is staunch Catholic, he's Muslim, is his whole family, where are they from?
They're all from France, but originally their background is Tunisian. So they have a Tunisian background, so North African.
Tunisia's the only country on the whole planet that's never been in a war.
Really?
That's the only thing I know about Tunisia. I always find it very interesting.
They have really amazing beaches. I mean, it's really a tropical looking place. So it's pretty nice. I mean, even though it's in North Africa and you wouldn't think it looks tropical, it's really, really nice. I mean, they have little restaurants on the beach. They have like the hammocks on the beach. So it's my vacation where I love going.
North Africa. How amazing. How different. Africa, what a huge continent with so much different culture and
so diverse.
How vast. Yeah, totally. So you and your husband, you get married, you have kids. Yeah. Is there ever any issue like we're going to raise our kids this way or that way, or?
Well, you see, we got married, and we actually got married, just him and I. We just went to the mosque because actually I got pregnant before we actually decided to get married. And so we were just like, oh, you know, we're going to bring a baby into this world. Let's just, you know, make a commitment to each other. And so he said, can you come to the mosque with me? And I was like, all right, no problem. God is God, no matter in what religion for me, you know, I just believe God is God. So I went to the mosque with him, and we just got married, him and I, just alone under God, no signature of any contracts or anything like that. And that was it. Just us alone in Jamaica. We did this. He came to be with me in Jamaica when I was visiting my parents. And I decided, since I was pregnant, I want to have my first kid in Jamaica. And yeah. And so that was it. And we have 3 kids now. And at one point when I was with him, I had a dream one night, and I was kind of jumping from a building, and I was saying things in Arabic, like I was saying an Arabic prayer. And I was like, ooh, what does that mean? And so it was really like, for years went by, like maybe I would say 3 years went by, and this was, you know, in the back of my mind. And I said one day, you know what, I'm going to convert to Islam. And so in order to convert to Islam, you just say, it's called your Shahada, and you convert to Islam. That's it, in front of a witness. I said, I think I want to do it. I read the Quran. I read it. And as I was reading it, there was some things that I was just like, not comfortable with that. I need to kind of look it up. And I would put it down, and I would wait. And then I read it. I put it down, and I wait. And then I converted to Islam. And that spiritual journey in its sense, or that religious journey, you know, kind of taught me that culture and that religion. And by that time, I had moved to the UAE. I was living in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, wow.
You know? Yeah. So it was just being around that culture kind of was like, I love who they are. I love the people. I love the honesty. I love the cleanliness. I just love, I love that culture.
Assume, but Abu Dhabi too is such as part of the world. And then as part of a culture, it's such a like gym of like kind of humanity doing things in a weird, perfect way that seems Eden-like, even like what they're creating and like how clean you're saying everything is, how it runs, like the energy seems to run all in a way that the buildings seem somehow symbiotic, like a biodome.
Oh, Chaney, you hit it on the head when you said that, because when I left Abu Dhabi, this is when my spiritual awakening happened, when I left it. And I moved back into nature. So I moved to south of France, and I literally have a forest behind my house. I have a river down the street. Like, I am in nature. And my soul was just like, get me out of here. I love this place so much. Wake me up right now. I need to be awake. And when I look back, the UAE, Abu Dhabi, Dubai is like a matrix. I felt like I left the matrix. I left something that was just not real, in a sense. Like, it was really not real. Like, I feel like when I look back at it, I feel like, in the Matrix, when those numbers are falling down, like, that's what I'm feeling like I look back and I see.
There was a time in my, maybe somewhere in my late 20s, where I was writing a YA novel, and this idea that we'd all, like, Earth would be uninhabitable in most parts, and we'd all have to eventually live in these enormous buildings that were kind of like cruise boats, but on land. And in them, because the air outside would be unbreathable, they'd have like inside parks and trees and forests, and the buildings would be so big that they'd have to have like a bell lean in the top so that they didn't sway too much. And just I'm a UFC fan, so a lot of our fighters, and during the year of COVID, a lot of the fights happened in the Emirates, somewhere over there, because they could close off whole cities and make them entirely like, nope, you can't come in here. And so with travel papers and everything that they're trying to convince the world of, they were doing it there already and showing, look how precise this future could work, almost in that like perfect utopian dystopian future way of like a camera in every angle, but you're perfectly safe, but everything you do is tracked.
Yeah. Completely. I mean, my brother-in-law, he lives there, and he just messaged me, and he was like, they're making everyone get the vaccine. Like, if you don't get the vaccine, you don't work. If you don't get the vaccine, you don't go to weddings, you don't go to functions, you don't go anywhere. Like, if you don't get the vaccine, like, don't plan on leaving your house, basically. And so he's like, what do I do? I gotta get it. And I was like sending him, CDC says that this vaccine has caused most deaths than any vaccine altogether. And I'm always posting that on my political channel. And he was like, what am I supposed to do? I was like, you know what you're supposed to do? If you need to get that vaccine, do what you need to do, but I will be doing Reiki on you the same day, because I believe that can transmute whatever is in that vaccine, whatever is harmful for him. I got that in a download. Reiki will help to transmute it.
This is something that I think is really important, for maybe people to hear that are feeling hopeless. And, a lot of people have loved ones in their life that they're just panicked that they've gotten this vaccine, or they have jobs that they're just panicked that they won't be able to feed their kid without the vaccine, and that maybe there is something we can do. If you do believe we're energies, you do believe we all attach to this source, you can't believe we're helpless to a vaccine, a gun, a communist regime, a bad person. Like, we have to be able to overcome all of it. And I think this is where, this is why everybody's waking up at it's not an alarming rate, but it should be alarming for the negative energies that have tried to hold us in this space for so many. I don't even know if it's at this point time so broken. I don't know if it's been 150 years they've been lying to us about everything and just shoved all the history into 150 years. If we're on the timeline where we all just woke up to all the lies, or I don't know, maybe there's timelines where there's no lies that even exist. We're just on this one.
Yeah, I can see that. I can feel that. And I know that I went into meditation, and, I'm channeling, and I got the fact that I was asking, like, why am I waking up? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, who am I? Like, what is going on? And, I tapped into like a past life, and I'm a light worker, and I feel light workers are kind of like, they're star seeds, but I feel like light workers are also angels, in a sense, because like angels are the healers, angels are the light. Like, if you think of light, it's always angels. And I'm like, why am I here? Why am I here? Like, what's going on? And it basically said, you're here because the world needs you right now. And I'm like, but why right now? Like, why? And it's because you're ready for it. You lived your human life and you've learned through your human life, and you're ready now with all the life lessons that you've learned to go forth and be this person that we need you to be now. And I mean, that's what I got from my download. And it took me, I mean, like I said, like, you guys have been such amazing support, and everything around me has been such an amazing support that I haven't gone batshit crazy, because I know people who've woken up. We know people who've woken up at an early stage, years and years ago, and they had to go to mental hospitals twice, because people just didn't know what they were saying. Who are they talking to? What's going on? What are you talking about? Portals and astral traveling and all that
demons
stuff.
And
yeah, like, what are you talking about? And so for this to happen to me, and just, I feel like, why does everyone understand me? Like, how come I'm not having a harder time? Other than myself, I have my ego versus my soul constantly. But every time I've needed a question, I have a question and needed an answer for, the teacher has showed up to me. So we are definitely on a rapid speeding timeline, and that everything's just like not shoved in our face, but shoved in our face in such a enlightening, understanding way. Because I have a mentor that she just came to me. I mean, I asked for, like, I universe, if this is where I got to go, like, like, help me get there, and I'm open for whatever you got to give me. So my cousin and my sister go to dinner together on the exact same day at the exact same restaurant that they did last year. Right. So they're at the same place, same day, complete coincidence. My sister talks about me and how, Bianca's kind of waking up and she's these strange things are happening to her and all this stuff. And my cousin says, well, I know someone that kind of had that experience too, like a couple of years ago. And my sister's like, give me his number. And so my cousin's like, okay. And she's like, no, right now, like, give me his number. I need to give it to Bianca. And so she gives him the phone number. And that night she messages me, and I'm like, oh, let me just message this guy. So I'm like, hey, I'm Bianca, Milana's cousin. Strange shit's happening to me. I go into meditation and I'm going places and I see stuff, and, I am hearing voices. Like, what's going on? And so he replies, he's like, Alana, who? And I was like, that's my cousin. I'm like, oh shit, I just told this guy all these details. And so he's like, no, I'm just joking. And we start talking, and he has this mentor that he goes to, and he's one of those guys who, like, loves to not justify everything. He just really needs answers a lot. And
that's me. I understand that.
Yeah, he just needs lots of answers to things that are going.
My logic needs it, or my other chakras won't accept it. I don't know what it is. It's just my Achilles heel and superpower.
Exactly. So he meets me, and he knows this other lady named Lisa, and she's been a Reiki master, medium. She can go into the Ashtek, I can't even say it, Ashtek records. Akashic, there we go. I mean, I should know that because I'm just starting to access it. Akashic records. She can do all of that stuff. And he's like, you got to meet her. And I was like, okay, yeah, like, sure, I'm going to, I will. And he's like, do you mind if I pull Akashic records for you and me? And I was, because he's like, you came into my life for a reason, and you have your Reiki and all this stuff. Like, you're here for a reason. Let me figure out what it is. So I'm like, all right, no problem. And this lady, she charges.
And he's to a point, if he's such a student now, he's like, can I look at the Akashic with us? What are you going to teach me? He's such a point of being, even though you're looking to him to help you, he's like, oh, yeah. Yay, another teacher.
Exactly. Because I'm thinking he's my teacher, and he's thinking because he's an older guy, and, he's been awake a little bit longer. So he's like, yeah, I'm your teacher. And to the point now where he's like, well, am I really your teacher, or are you my student? And again, I believe everyone's a teacher and everyone's a student regardless. So he asked my permission. He sends it to Lisa. Lisa pulls 2 of my Akashic records, and one connecting to him. And basically him and I were in a past life together, apparently multiple, and he saved my life. And I've kind of like been there with him through some time periods of his life. And then the thing is, Lisa, she pulls one with her and I in it. And apparently she's my twin flame in some way. right? She has been with me in many past lives, and sometimes she's the teacher and I'm the student.
That's so wonderful that two straight women, so you don't even have to worry about the sexual weird root thing that always comes up, because the twin flame thing always, for some reason, with who we are in this humanity, it's always like right through our root chakra. So it's just so nice to hear, like, where you don't have to worry about any of that shit, to have this other being that you're like, no, this is my twin flame. We've traveled lifetimes together, and it's not, I don't have to pollute it with all this like flesh beating that we do now. You know, it's just kind of wonderful to hear, like, yay, it wasn't like a straight guy that's like, ooh, I'm totally going to court you. You're my twin flame, or some, you know, like I'm a lesbian, like, hi, Bianca, I'm your twin flame. It's like, no, there was none of that 3D shit. It was like so much bigger than that. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, I can just say it so casually. She was my twin flame, and she would, you know, be with me and I would be with her, lesson teacher, lesson, you know, student. And she basically was like, you know, let's get, you know, can we do a reading together? Can we be together? You know, like, can we talk? And I was like, yeah, definitely. I'm going to book a session with you. So, I mean, I booked a 30-minute session, which turned into an hour and a half. And she's a very experienced person, so you pay experience prices regardless, you know. So we were talking, and she was able to kind of like, you know, channel my energy, and she could feel my different chakras and different pains that I'm having throughout my body, and she can kind of feel everything. So she's kind of a chakra reader as well. And then she's just giving me lots of advice, and she, you know, kind of sends me an activation code, and she does all this stuff, and I'm like, why do I feel like this is home to me? Like, why do I feel like this is something I am about to be doing? Like, this is something I'm already doing, you know, because I'm explaining to her that I have different sensations happening in my body, and I'm having this going on and that going on. And she's just like, I'm her basically 20 years ago, you know, so
even different than a twin flame. Like, you're having a journey, like what happens when you walk somebody else's footsteps. That's kind of twin flamey, I guess. You're kind of burning in the same lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a twin flame. It's exactly together. And we basically have very similar feelings and sensations.
You know what? Can I stop? What is a twin flame? Can I just...
Well,
it's one of those terms like Reiki that's just around everywhere now, that we all just know what it is. But what is it?
Well, twin flame is basically like, so you have your masculine and feminine energies. And sometimes when you have more of a masculine energy, you kind of try to find that feminine energy that you're missing in another person. That would be your twin flame. That would help to balance you off, you know, because we need to have that divine feminine and divine masculine, you know, to kind of be a whole being and be completely united and full of knowledge. And when people can't find that, they balance it off by having another person.
Is it the same as a soulmate?
Yeah. I mean, it would be definitely like a soulmate. Okay. I mean, soulmates can be anyone throughout your lifetime. You can have multiple soulmates, right?
Can soulmates be animals?
Soulmates can be animals. Yeah. Souls can be repeated over and over again.
Do animals have divine masculine and divine feminine?
I mean, I think animals...
Or are they representative in their own as being a masculine or a feminine? Like, would a rabbit be maybe a feminine and a tiger be masculine or something?
Exactly. I think it would be more like that. It would be, because you see, the moon is a feminine. The moon is a divine feminine, right? The moon has different phases. And as she goes through her phases every month, like what we go through, like females go through these phases, the moon would be considered a female or a feminine energy, while the sun is considered a divine masculine energy, because the sun is very strong, very hot, very stubborn, very like, don't mess with the sun, don't get in my way, I'll burn you down. And that's a complete divine masculine characteristic. So those are the different ones. I mean, so definitely I think animals could hold their own, like Mother Earth is a divine feminine, right? So Mother Nature, and I guess animals could carry their own masculine, feminine characteristics of their
That was a weird question. I didn't mean to get you off track. I asked you like 3 questions in the middle of like twin flame and animals and stuff, but go on. If you were going to finish your Reiki journey.
Yeah. So where was I? Yeah. So, she ends up being my twin flame. And hold on, my husband's in here. Yeah, babe. I don't have him. And so
it's not perfect unless when human vibrations on, her dog was panting the whole time.
Yeah.
Not the whole time, just like 5 minutes. But it's just, it isn't perfect unless it's imperfect, because it's what makes us not the news. It's not Anderson Cooper and phony. This is how authentic. Sometimes there's husbands and dogs involved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that the baby's not crying in the background soon, but luckily husband is there to carry that for me. Yeah. So Lisa ends up to hold that space, the universe is on my side right now. So Lisa, yeah, she ends up, helping me out a lot. And Ronnie helps me out a lot because I'm also doing Reiki for him. And he's able to kind of really talk me through the different sensations that I'm feeling. And then I've been doing Reiki on all my family. So, I remember doing Reiki, just practicing, because when you get your Reiki license, actually Reiki 1, you have to do Reiki on yourself for 21 days. Like, it's mandatory. So you have to heal yourself in like every layer that you could possibly heal. You should be healing. So like I would be crying as I'm washing the dishes because some feeling is coming out of me. And Bob Marley, really, he helped me get through it, because I would just rock out to him all day and clean my house and cry, or do laundry and cry, or laugh or smile. And like I was really going crazy. Like I felt like I had PMS for like 21 days. And my husband would be like, what's wrong with you? Like, how come you're like laughing and then you're crying? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand. But now I understand. And because I had to do this, because when people get their Reiki detox, it kind of happens like that for 4 days. So you got to heal yourself in order to understand the whole healing process, I guess. And when I was doing my Reiki session on people, I would just, start practicing and doing it. And then one day when I was doing my sister-in-law, she was kind of going into this sleep, but she wasn't sleeping. And then she was talking in her sleep, and she was mumbling something. And then she I kind of woke her up because we needed to turn her around. And she was like, I can't feel like my arms. I can't feel like my legs. Everything is tingling. I feel like I'm in the clouds. And in front of me, when I do this Reiki, the whole room kind of turns into a cloud. Everything gets kind of blurry for me in a way. And I was like, oh, she can see this. Like, she can feel this, because I feel like I'm in a cloud. And so when we're finished, basically, I'm telling her everything, and she starts crying. And I'm like, I don't know why she's crying. And then I'm crying, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, what? This is like my first time doing Reiki on someone. And I'm like, what is this whole thing? And I'm not just doing Reiki 1. Like, I've done Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki Master. So I've done all of them and all their attunements all at one time. So I just went full on gung ho into this Reiki journey. Like, I was like, nope, no stopping me now. And
like full time, you were like, I'm getting my doctorate degree in Reiki. Like, let's
I did it.
We're going.
Yeah, I was like night and day studying this and watching videos and studying it and signing up for all the classes. I even went to Reiki 1 training here in France, fully in French, and I don't even speak French. And I was like, oh, I got to see a hands-on experience from this person, this lady. And I went and everything has been so divine. Like, I met a friend here, and she doesn't speak much English, and I don't speak, very well in French, but we have been like connected in some way, and we speak from the heart. And she was interested in Reiki, and she came with me on this Reiki 1 journey, and she would pick me up every day and take me there and drop me back home. And I mean, I was thinking, maybe I'm not going to do it because it's in French. And she was like the one, like, don't worry about it. I'm going to be with you. Let's go. And everything has been just divine time, like everything.
Do you feel like anyone can learn Reiki, or do you think it's a calling?
For me personally, it was a calling, and I think everyone, you have to be called to it.
Do you always feel like you knew were you always different? Do you feel like there's something different about you that's woke that always has been?
Or
do you feel like you were like normal little girl doing your church thing, partying, getting married, having kids, and then just boom? Or do you feel like there was something always questioning, longing, looking, or knowing that this was all coming? Did I freeze?
Years old.
Oh, hold on one
8
sec.
years old. Showed.
Oh, start that over. I think I lost connection for a minute.
Yeah. So I remember like being a kid, like 6 years, one of those ages. And
I do think the connection's slowing up. Is the connection okay at your end?
Yeah, it's okay at my end.
Okay, it sounds good now. Sorry, start over.
So when I was a kid, around like between 6 and 9, I used to watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch a lot. And I remember sitting on the toilet and trying to like get the toilet paper to come to me. Like I would be like, come on, toilet paper, come on. Like, I don't know, I'm going to use my, is it frozen again? Is it okay?
I can hear you, but I think the video might be freezing sometimes, but I can hear you okay.
Okay, great.
It's probably because we're talking about witch stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
You're like,
and I would just stop. And I don't know, I was just like, I don't know if that's normal. Like all kids, try to do those type of things. But I just really believe like I'm a pretty decent human being. And I could tell because I love children. And that's my job. I'm a teacher and I kind of like, open the kids gym and kids were naturally drawn to me in a way. I taught in the UAE in the school systems. I taught local kids who don't speak any English, and kids were just drawn to me and they would just touch me and they would just, want to stay near me. And like, I was like their mom and I would be like, I don't know why they like me so much, but I guess kids can see aura, and they can kind of read people better than anyone else can. And I just, felt like I'm a really good person. I don't know why this happened to me, but this all happened to me in divine time. And when I actually just the other day, I thought back, I was like, I remember being in a group of friends one night and I was like, why do I have these period cramps? Like I felt cramping and I don't have my period. So why do I feel this? And I went to my friend next to me and I was like, do you have your period? And she was like, yeah, how did you know? And I was like, because I think I can feel it. And then she was like, really? And I was like, no, that sounds so silly. No, maybe I just ate something or something like that. And I remember this happening to me again. And I was like, and I went to the person next to me. I was like, do you have your period? And they'll be like, yeah, how did you know? And I was like, no. This like ego is telling me like, no, that's just silly. And this is what happens to me during my Reiki sessions. Like I can feel everything. So I guess I was an empath all along.
Yeah, I actually just learned this term from talking to somebody yesterday, conduit, which is somebody that actually they feel actually how the person feels. And when they feel that, it's a type of healing. When they feel that, the second they feel it, it's alleviating some of the pain or ailments for the other person. Like they're feeling pain that is curing the other person.
Yeah, well, that happened to me for the first time the other night, actually 3 nights ago, because normally everything happens in my Reiki session. Like, when I'm in the zone, and it's never happened without me being in the zone. And the other night we were at a party and someone asked the person sitting next to me a very personal question. She asked her, do you have any kids? And the lady said, no. And she kind of like turned around quickly, got up and went to her purse. And literally someone took a knife and stabbed me in my heart. And I was like, why? What is happening to me? Like, why do I feel this? Like, I feel like not I have a heart attack, but I feel like somebody just stabbed me. And I understand this feeling because I've felt it before during Reiki. And I was like, no, I just felt her pain. I was like, no. And so, I can't let it go because I just need to understand, right? So 10 minutes later, I kind of was like, hey, me speaking half English, half French. This person asked you this question about kids. Did this really hurt you? Like, are you really hurt by this question and not having kids? And she's like, all of a sudden tears start welling up in her eyes. And she's like, how did you know? And I was like, because I felt it. I felt such a pain in my heart. And she's like, how did you know? Are you a medium? And I was like, I don't know what I am really. Like, I don't even know the terms to describe these things. And I was like, but is it something painful? She's like, I can't even talk about it right now. I need to talk to you in private about it because it's so painful. Can I talk to you in private? And I was like, yeah, here's my number. Let's talk, And so she automatically felt compelled to come talk to me about it. Like, people have always been compelled to tell me their problems in a way. And, owning my own gym in the UAE, I was around a lot of moms all the time, a lot of moms at kids' gym. And these moms would tell me lots of personal things. And they would be like, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like, I don't know what she's telling me about her husband and her sex life, or, something going on with her parents, or just anything these moms would tell me. And I would always tell my team, like, these moms are, sometimes they just need someone to talk to, but they're like, but they've never really talked to us about these personal things, like what they talk to you about. And I was like, that's so strange. Like, that's so strange. And yeah,
I kind of relate to that in ways my whole life, that I'd be like, oh, well, so-and-so, something really personal that I'm like, oh, I just thought everybody kind of knew that. And they were like, what? You've only known her for a day. How do you know that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. We talked about it. But then I always call it like normal humans. They'll ask me questions like, I'll be on the phone with you for an hour and I'll get off and they'll be like, they'll be like, how did Bianca's job go? Her new job. She just started it today. Everyone else will know this stuff that's really 3D that I'm like, I don't know. We didn't talk about it once. And I'm like, how did I not? I always feel like a bad friend sometimes when I get off, but it's like this normal stuff I'm supposed to know about people. I am lost on it. I don't relate to people in that normal life way. I always know different stuff about and I feel like it's a compelling.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, for example, I started going to this lady who does nails and all that stuff. And I went to her for the first time. My husband's family have been going to her for like a year. And I go to her for the first time. I don't speak French. She doesn't speak English, but I knew she came from an abusive background with an abusive father who was not there anymore, how many kids she had, where her kids are now, what her journey it has been. I knew all of this, not even being able to communicate very well with her. And so when I went to my in-laws and I was like, yeah, the lady, she has like these 2 kids. She's bringing them over here to France and everything. They're like, how do you know this? And I was like, you guys don't know this? Like, you don't know that? Don't you go to her like every month for the past year? And they're like, yeah, but we don't really talk about that. And I was like, really? And it's reached a point where now her son is here and he speaks very well in English. And every time I go over to her house, he's like 16. He makes the effort to come downstairs and he pulls up a chair and I'm like, welcome to my office, have a seat with me. And he sits down and he tells me every problem that he's having. And I listen to him and I tell him how I would solve it and what his goals are in life and how he's arguing with his mom. And I feel like I'm in a therapy session, like right there with him.
It's kind of awesome. It is healing. Anyone I go, either I can love and be empathetic. And now empathy is new to me. Like, you're having your whole awakening. I feel like I was a computer until November. And then like something happened where I didn't just feel myself for the first time, that my logic blocked everything. I felt like also everybody else, where it was like, is this my emotion or somebody else's? Is this my pain or somebody else's? Holy shit, this is just a bunch of energy. I don't even know what to do with it. And I even feel maybe with gifts that I get to experience people's gifts briefly, only to validate that they're real. Like, somewhere my brain didn't believe anything. I didn't believe, if I couldn't prove it to myself, almost with a scientific type study of proof, I just couldn't believe it. So whether it was the idea of magic or energy or God, none of that stuff really existed for me. Even I wanted it to, but it didn't really exist until one day something moved. And then it was like you were unable for it not to exist. And it wasn't a faith, it was a knowing.
Yep, exactly.
It's like you search for faith your whole life, and then you just know it's not even a faith. You never even get the opportunity to have faith.
Yeah. It's just all of a sudden it's like boom, and you're like, oh, what is this? You know, it's sure, it definitely is an awakening. And you know, I have a friend of mine, the same one I was telling you about, the one that did Reiki training with me, divine timing, right? She's having her awakening in the sense where she's feeling everyone's emotions and feelings around her, and she's not able to understand them and handle them and cope with them because she thinks they're her feelings. She can't identify which one is her feelings and which one is someone else's feelings. And I mean, she would get horrible thoughts in her head, like horrible thoughts, because when also with Reiki, you know, when you're cleaning yourself and you're raising your vibrations, obviously ego and that dense energy doesn't want you to go up, right? It always wants to keep you down. It never wants you to rise to this vibration. So even when I was going through my Reiki detox or my Reiki healing, my ascension process, I would say a couple of nights where I would just get these really bad thoughts in my head, you know, like really bad thoughts. And again, like thank you guys for everything, because like you guys, I would tell you guys this and you'd be like, just don't worry about it. Just thank it and let it go kind of thing. Like somebody would just tell me the right thing to do. Just know it's not you, Bianca. It's not you. It's because you're ascending and they're pulling you down. I don't know if you guys told me this. I don't know how I got this information, but I got the information that I needed. And, you know, I would just be like, oh, it's not you. You know, this is not you. I understand. Thank you for reminding me that it's not me. Bye-bye. And within 2 days, these thoughts, this dense energy would kind of have left me alone. But people who don't know how to process this, my friend was going into a really bad state. You know, she would be crying. She would be in a really depressed mood, to where her husband was like, Bianca, you gotta help her in some way. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do Reiki for you. And so I was doing Reiki on the bed for her, and she was flapping like a fish. Like she was flapping to the point where it startled me. I don't want to say scare me because I don't want to give anything that power. It startled me. And I was like, I took a step back and I was like, what? I was just like, you know, angels, you're with me. God, you're with me. Everybody's with me. Let's go. Let's keep going. And I just kept on going because I just had my faith, right? I just knew everything was okay. And so when I was finished with her, she was like, what happened to me? Like, how come I'm flapping like a fish? How come my eyes were twitching? Like, what's going on? And luckily for me, like I said, divine timing. I had booked a session 1 month ago with a quantum healer for myself, just because this whole journey had started with me and I wanted to know how to get in contact with my higher self, which I already started learning before I even had this meeting with him. And he just came like 3 days after my appointment. And I was like, I don't know what happened in front of me on this bed. And he was like, okay, let's talk about Satan. Let's talk about the devil. Let's talk about all these limiting beliefs that you had. And he was helping me to get over these limiting beliefs of Satan and the devil, and having to be always a good person and having to like live up to these certain standards that are biblical and kind of thing. And he was able to help me with that. And it just came at such an amazing time, because if he didn't come, maybe I would still be startled and wouldn't be able to process and understand what happened to her on the table with me. So like I said, just divine time.
What do you feel, what are your thoughts of Satan and the devil and demons? Are these together? Are these entities real? Are these dense energies? Can people be haunted? What are your thoughts of all this kind of stuff?
Well, I just believe everything is energy. So everything's energy, and energy never dies, right? So, I mean, you can have this very dense energy that can be surrounding a person or be draining a person, or even the dense energy can just be a piece of the person. It can kind of give the person a piece of its energy, you know? So we have like energetic cords that I've, come across, or I've seen dense energy still lingering on the person. So that dense energy is attached or around to the person. And then, I mean, I believe if you're vibrating in a low vibration, I believe if you are vibrating so low with where they are, where that dense energy lives, then yeah, definitely things can start, coming at you. If a house has a low vibration, if some bad things could have possibly happened in that house and that energy is still there or caught there, or, needs support in moving on or leaving, then yeah, that's definitely possible.
Do you think like people have gifts to see the same way, like some people see light energy, some people see dark energy, and that's a gift to be able to witness it in other people?
Yeah, definitely. Some people can see it, some people can't, some people can feel it, some people don't feel anything at all. So, everybody has a gift. And I truly believe, because what I've been saying for the past, I would say almost a year now, I believe that God source didn't make us as one of his most divine beings. Like we are his, like, look at us, like we're amazing. Like man has tried to duplicate us in every way they can, and they can never do it, right? They can never successfully do something with a soul, with what we have. They can't do it. He didn't make us, or I don't want to say he because it's not a masculine. God source didn't make us with nothing, like nothing. You know what I mean? Like we have the power to heal ourselves. We have the power to connect to source. We have the power of having all known energy or all known knowledge. We have all these abilities that have kind of just been, taken away from us.
Well,
hidden
even
from
look, look around at our Eden, our Earth, and all the animals. And if you took any animal and if you boiled it down, if a human represented that power, you may think, damn, that's a superpower, like how animals migrate just unknowingly to some unknown magnetic thing, or how certain animals like a sea turtle can just go back out to sea right from egg and just know how to sea turtle. Like what
and come back to the exact same place to lay its own eggs.
What? I know, like a monarch. What is that monarch system of like you're going where your grandparents went? How do they know?
Yeah. How do they know that? Like, how do they know to find themselves back? Because they're all source. They are all universe. They're all knowing. You know what I mean? They're all knowing. And they can tap into this all knowing quantum consciousness. They can tap into all of that. And we have the ability to do it, but we have just been preoccupied in learning how to be a business person and make money and needing to buy these big houses or needed to buy this. We've all been preoccupied by having that instead of what really matters.
Somebody said today, you keep referring to a group, and we are a part of this amazing group of women. And Truth, one of the members of our group, she said something today that I just love when somebody puts into words an emotion I've felt my whole life, but I've never, just somebody putting a vibration to it somehow releases me of like, it validates me like, oh, that's how I felt too for such a long fucking time. And she just said the 40-hour work week life has just put us all with this like post-traumatic stress of fight or flight for so long that we're unable to create. And so when we find these moments of where you're gardening or you're just sitting in a chair on a beach, your head starts to want to create again. It starts to want to flow with that thing. But somehow they've really broken us, like putting us in fight or flight, making us rabbits instead of tigers, instead of walking around like great whites, like we're at the top of some invisible food chain. They've forced us to be a different species somehow.
Yeah. They've forced us to kind of change who we are, who we're meant to be. They've kind of, they've really just put us in a matrix. They've programmed us in a sense. And we're just going along with this program. We're going to school, we're working, we're learning we have to be working, we have to make money, we have to have a house, we have to have this. And once you slow down and you sit out on the beach and you watch the sunset, or for me, I'm in my hammock, all of a sudden you can't even stop your thoughts right? You're thinking about, oh my God, I need to cook dinner. What am I going to do for this? What am I going to do for this? You don't even know how to quiet your mind. And that's when the divine talks to you. That's when everything happens, is when that mind is silenced and you have nothing at all, is when you know everything at all, when you know everything. And so we don't know how to do that.
They've convinced somehow every single thing we fear are all the places that we used to find God. And so they've have us convinced we're scared of the dark, convinced fire's bad, convinced the ocean is the most frightening thing on the planet, convinced sitting alone is terrifying. Like the idea of sitting with ourselves is terrifying.
Convinced talking to yourself is bad.
Yeah, convinced that there might be a superpower, or you were saying earlier, which, since I talked about truth in our group, also, people that might be called crazy because everybody lives in a 3D world, but they were already living 4D for their whole life. And when you're living 4D, and we all have these friends around us, and I'll say Summer, like we have these friends around us that we're like, oh, that person, they're a little woo-woo. That person, they're a little, you know how they are. You know how they think. And it's so outside the box of our 3D world and our hamster wheel of our post-traumatic stress that it almost it's like does something else. It speaks to such a truth in us. And it almost is so matrix breaking that the matrix has to put them away from us somewhere. It's like the matrix is like, no, this can't exist, because if this person talks, they'll all wake up today, and they all can't start waking up at 18.
Yeah. So let's just say that they are crazy, because if someone talks to themselves, if someone is having these dreams, if someone does this, let's all make that in a box of crazy. So let's make sure that we put it in the news, put it in movies, put it in everything, that if that happens, then that person's crazy. So everyone around them thinks they're crazy, and then they get sent away. So no one can hear them until they're shocked into back into the matrix again.
And what else it does is it makes anyone like you or I that just in the last 4 months or 6 months, instead of us looking any deeper when we're having these awakenings, we're like, ooh, look what happened to Summer. I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm just going to get back on my hamster wheel and get back to work and put my head down and wear my mask and get my vaccine, because otherwise I'll be called crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And we, ego cannot be called names, right? So ego doesn't want to be called any names. Ego doesn't want to be offended in any way. Ego needs to be always the best and have, the reputation of being the best. So yeah, definitely. It's just, like I said, like we're so lucky to have each other, because you guys are the people I go to and I'm like, oh my God, guess what just happened to me? I need to just share it with you so that you guys can just make sure to tell me that I'm not crazy. And you're like, oh.
We just don't want to see, I'm still not crazy. Hey, crazy people, I'm not crazy, right?
right. Crazy people, please tell me I'm not crazy. And then somebody would be like, oh my God, that happened to me before. Like I felt like I was abducted by UFOs. And somebody else was like, oh my God, that exact same thing happened to me too. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. So it's like, soul is so happy to be able to tell you guys these things. And ego is like, oh yeah, you're still crazy. Like they're still crazy. You're all crazy. And so like, no, you guys are home. You're home.
I love soul versus ego. I never thought of those two as separate things before. But yeah, I never even, I like those two separate names, soul versus ego.
Yeah.
In your whole experience with your family, is anybody else gifted?
I believe, I will definitely believe my dad is gifted. But you see, my dad has the gift of, so he'll dream these dreams, and he'll dream about someone, and he'll basically tell my mom, get my black suit out, this person's going to die. And the person will die 2 days later. And so my dad definitely has this gift. And the thing is, the more spiritual my dad becomes, or he just actually was telling me this story when I was telling him what's happening to me. And he was like, well, I'm going to tell you stuff that happened to me before. And I'm like, how come I didn't know about this stuff? So the more spiritual he started becoming, he would start seeing people that weren't there. So he would start seeing the energies. around everyone and around him. And it freaked him out because he didn't have the support that he needed. And he's not the type of person that would talk about it or would share these kind of like, crazy situations that happens to him. And of course, if he shares with my mom's very religious. She's like, oh my God, you just got to go to church. You have to go to this. I'm going to get holy water. Oh. So she kind of like, goes into that side of it or that matrix of it. And so my dad kind of just, stopped becoming very spiritual and it kind of faded away. And so he told me that, and I was like, wow, he's gifted. And so my sister actually went to a therapist once. She's completely the opposite of me. She's very like, she's the fighter, and I'm more like, let's talk about it, guys. We don't need to argue. She's like, I'll punch you in your face. Like,
what's her sign?
She's Aquarius.
Okay. I don't know if she's Aquarius.
I mean, she's one, like, I remember I had a boyfriend at the time and he's driving the car and I'm sitting next to him and she's in the back seat and he says something to me that's just not appropriate. And she kicked him from the back seat in his nose and like almost broke his nose. His nose was bleeding. He had to pull over and was like, you girls get out of my car. Well, he said, you bitches get out of my car, And like my sister, she's the one that like, you don't take shit with her. And so she went to a therapist, for, I guess, her anger issues and control and whatever she needed to do at that time. And the therapist, I think she was doing Reiki on her in a sense where she was trying to go into her head to kind of feel her emotion, feel her feelings. And my sister's like, why do I feel you inside of my head? Get out of my head. And the lady was like, oh, you feel that? And my sister's like, yeah, like you were in my head. I could feel you in my head. And I don't like that feeling. And the lady was like, oh my God, can we like keep doing sessions together? Because this is the first time someone had ever felt me in their head and felt it. And my sister was like, fuck that. That's scary. Like, I'm not going back to that lady. And this was like maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And she was just, when I was having my awakening, she was telling me about this. So I believe she can feel people. Like today I sent her Reiki without her knowing. And she told me, did you send me Reiki 40 minutes ago? And I was like, yes. She's like, I felt a shock going down my whole body. So she could feel me inside of her. So yeah, she definitely has something. It's just, she had the baby and she has 2 little ones and she just doesn't have that time to meditate and connect to source, because if she did, then she could be waking up a lot faster than she is.
Do you think we're born with like a raw connection to source? And then we kind of then we're severed with society and the structure of the shit we grow up in?
Oh, definitely. We're born with a definite connection with source. And also the fact that we're born with, as a child, we're so different, right? We always have wounded child, when we do Reiki, it's like you have the wounded child. And it's because children, that innocence is so special, right? We know that even it's special, even for the dense energies, it's so special, especially for the light energies, it's so special, that innocence of a child. And I mean, children see fairies, right? They have imaginary friends. They have all these beings or these things around them that they're able to see and identify and talk to. And again, society makes it that they're crazy, and you're like, stop talking to somebody, there's nobody there. Like, stop talking to somebody, there's nobody there. And all of a sudden one day they wake up and nobody's there. But hey, who are we to tell them there's no such things as fairies and unicorns? Because there could be. There is.
There is. Yeah. They do seem to keep trying to hide a lot of stuff from us. And the more open-minded I am to speaking to people about these things, I'm realizing how many people that I were like, used to be like, oh, that's a normal person, works the 40-hour work week job, pays all their bills on time, has their kids, gets everyone to practices and dance recitals. Okay. And then now, because I'm saying to people, I think I'm a witch, they're like, oh, bitch, like, oh, I've been a witch, like, or they're like, oh, I'm a mermaid, or I'm a fairy, or I'm a angel, or I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody out there is living this closeted life where they're walking around like shapeshifters and vampires, and I'm over here trying to be like 9/11's an inside job.
Well, we're all doing our own part, right? And that was, I think that, I don't know how come, but that led to my spiritual awakening, is the whole political side of it. I think having to knowing a little bit and diving into those type of rabbit holes, kind of maybe dive into the spiritual rabbit hole at the same, well, towards the end of it, or towards not the end of my journey, but towards awakening of another journey. So
for me, it just seems to be my masochistic. I don't know if it's my Scorpio, if it's who I am, whatever my soul's journey, but I have to see dread before I can see joy. I have to see the darkest dark before I realize, holy shit, there's the lightest light. I have to experience pure heartbreak before I allow myself to really love. It's just been my whole walk throughout life. I've realized, like, I have to experience the pain part of it first, where I think normal people, they experience the love part first and all the good. And then, I think I had my winter. I'm a winter baby too. Like, I had my winter months before my spring and summer.
Yeah, I'm a winter baby too, but I was born in Jamaica, so there's always
I know,
there's always summer there. It's always summer there. But yeah, I'm in November, so I'm Sagittarius, and I feel like I'm very similar to you. Like, I have to experience all the heartaches before I can experience love. I have to understand all the darkness before I can experience the light. So, like, diving into the politics and all that stuff and that side of it, and like crying myself to sleep, like, why are these things happening? Why is these energies out there? What is this? What's happening to the world? And just thinking, like, really, I remember going into a chat and I was like, no, I would never make my kid like sit on a guy's lap or something. And one of the guys in the chat was like, not all guys are bad. Like, not all men are evil. Like, not all men have that. Like, I'm an uncle, I'm a brother, not all men are like that. And I had lost hope in humanity. And when I remember talking to him, I was like, yeah, maybe he's right. I shouldn't look at the world like everyone is evil. And then that's when I started kind of having the light shine on me.
Did you pray for it? Did you meditate for it? Did it hit you like one tiny thing at a time? Or was it like a whole, like, literal awakening where you were asleep and then one day you woke up?
Yeah. I think it started when we started our chat together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and isn't that crazy? We had like this huge chat together, and then a small chat together, and then a really small chat together. Now we're actually talking together. So it's like we've always like, next we're going to meet each other. When I come to Florida, I'm going to go meet you. We're going to go have drinks or something together.
Totally. We're totally doing it.
It's like full circle.
Or so in the world that we totally win in, we can meet in Jamaica and have a really good time in Jamaica like it should be. And we don't all have to plan. Everywhere in the world has to be in Florida right now.
Yeah. Anywhere. I wish, like, that's my whole goal in life. I'm turning my house into a retreat. Like, that's what I want. So I want my house to be like, a place where people can come and just chill in the hammock, have meditation time. Like, I could just not teach them, but walk with them through what I do every day.
That's what I dream of. I just dream of living on a land where people can just, I don't know what my part would facilitate in that, except other than, no, we're not going to talk about that work. We're not going to, like, come sit by the fire. It's okay. Cry right now. Just sit and cry. Or you should go talk to so-and-so. Get out of your box. But I do feel like some part of my calling is, I want to help adults heal their inner child.
Yes.
I know everybody loves the kids, and I love that there's so many great moms out there that want to take care of the kids. My calling is to somehow take care of the moms.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I don't know how that'll be. Maybe somehow you'll come to my land and
you'll come to my land.
Yeah. All the land. There'll be so much good land to travel to.
Oh, and the lady I'm telling you about, Lisa, who's my twin flame, she actually does retreats.
That's awesome.
Like, she's really, like, I would say, she is, I'm walking in her footsteps. I'm running in her footsteps,
Are you so lucky that your husband was so supportive of all of this?
My husband he keeps me grounded, right? So he sometimes is just like, Bianca, we are not talking about this anymore. Like, this is the dinner table. We're not talking about that talk anymore. He keeps me, in the 3D world. He keeps me grounded. He pulls that balloon that wants to fly away. He keeps it down on the ground. So he's been he's been kind of like my rock in a way. And Lisa, when I was having this whole awakening and I kind of spoke to her, she was like, listen, you got to find balance. You got to find balance, or else, you don't want to become an unhappy healer. You don't want to lose everything that you've worked your whole life for just because you have this gift now. You use the universe, use your family, use everyone around you to work on your gift. Use your gift on them. Let the universe talk to you through your 3D world. You don't have to always be doing Reiki to have the universe talking to you. Just see what happens throughout your day. And that was like, I was like, wow, I needed to hear this at this point in my life. And like everything's divine time, everything.
No, even you say a lot of people that are waking up or, they give their loved ones a little hard time because they're like, I'm going here and I'm talking about these things and I have these big ideas and these big feels. And I do think it's something important that you just said about your husband is it's important to have these people in your life that keep you grounded. And so that you aren't a balloon that flies away, that the 3D is still important because it's where our flesh still lives. It's where we still save people. It's where, we're still here right now. Like our rainbow bodies are not existent. So if we do all just float away, where does that leave us? We all end up in mental hospitals.
Exactly. And I mean, everything that I've worked 35 years of my life towards, I can't lose it just because of this gift. Everything else has been a gift to me. You know what I mean? So just use your time, balance your life to use all your gifts, at the right time for you. So now I schedule my appointments, when my kids are at school. I do like one late one just in case. I do stuff when they're sleeping. So they're not really affected by it, but they actually kind of like to hear my stories. They like to hear what has happened, even though like they're like, oh, that's mom, that you're just sounding kind of crazy, mom. I don't know what you're saying, but they really like it because they're like, so what happened in your Reiki session today? So they're starting to ask.
I think part of our imagination that they've killed with our conditioning, whatever that imagination is pure attachment to the Akashic. And we might not have it in order that it went, and we might not have the names in the right spot, or we might be like, why do I keep thinking dragons? And none of us really know why the dragons keep coming up for us, or the angels keep coming up for us, or the aliens keep coming up for us. There's certain things that exist in the Akashic record for a reason. We just might not have the order. But the kids, they have this attachment imagination too. And it sounds like imagination, like we're creating it, but we can't create anything that hasn't existed already because the time of an Ouroboros. And if we're manifesting everything into the future, then it's already happening. So it's such a mind fuck to talk about. Sorry to talk about children and then say the word mind fuck.
No, but I totally get it. And, I have a little girl, she's 3, and she's such a blessing in her own sense is because she keeps my inner child alive. She loves snails and she loves going outside into the garden. Like I swear she goes outside in the garden and bees come and pitch on her and just sit on her arm. Like she can just literally put her finger up and a bee will come and just sit on her finger. Like she vibes like that. Like that's her vibration. And these animals just know that she's a good person. And we have a snail tank and she collects escargots and she names all of them and she feeds all of them and they actually lay eggs and have babies. And it's just, she keeps me looking for fairies and looking for the magic that's out there in the world.
I love that you guys live in France and she has living escargot.
She does.
There's something poetically beautiful about that. And I love your art behind you of the snail, or it looks like a snail kind of, spiral.
Oh, that's actually the Reiki symbols.
Oh, see, I don't know anything. What symbols are those ones stand for?
So we have the power symbol. We have the emotion symbol, and then we have the time and space and distance symbol. So the distance symbol. And these are kind of the symbols that you use to put you in the different trances.
The power symbol, almost did put me in a trance, literally. And then I thought, oh, it looks like a snail when you were saying snail. And then I thought, oh, it looks like a coiled snake. And I have a snail sitting next to me too on my like canteen big water glass. So it's just, I was like, oh, I have a snail next to me too. So it totally was trancy. I never even seen those symbols before.
Yeah, those are the three basic ones. And there's a master symbol that kind of combines all of them and just puts you into that trance right away. I don't use the master symbol very often because I like to, especially when I'm working on my clients, I don't want to go into past lives if they're not really into it. So I try to heal them first on just the physical and their soul kind of side of it. And then as they get, either they're awoken and they're like, yeah, go deep into my past life. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can see what I can pick up, but I'm not sure. And then, sometimes I'm like, do you believe in past lives? Because I just got that your throat was cut in a past life, and they'll be like, yeah, I believe in it. I was like, yeah. So do you have like a problem talking or humming, or is there something going on with your throat? And he's like, yeah, like I don't communicate with people very well. And I make this humming noise all the time, like with my throat. And I was like, I just felt like someone cut my throat. Like I just felt like my throat was cut. So I had this experience, this feeling that something happened with your throat that was very, very traumatic. And from my first session with him, not knowing, not talking about past lives or anything, we had the connection was I was really angry at him because I was spinning, jumping. I wanted to vomit. I opened my eyes at one point and I was like, what is going on? Should I stop? And I was like, it's just the energy. It's just the energy. And I'd go back in. And when I spoke to him, I was like, I was angry at him. I was like, why are you going through all these feelings? What is going on in your body? Like, why are you have 100 things flashing at you? And then to the second time and he'll be like, okay, yeah. No. And the second time where I kind of went into this past life and Reiki was able to kind of pull this trauma out. He was writing me paragraphs. He was talking to me about his parents and everything that happened to him in the past. And I was like, this person has changed in just an instant change.
It's so crazy. And are you allowed to take credit for part of it and give credit, or do you give all credit to source, the whole, which is also you?
Yeah, well, it's also me, but I just can't say it's me yet. I'm just not at that point, because I know I am God and God is me and we are connected and we are one. It's just that I need to know that my ego needs to know that it's not from my ego. It's from soul, because soul is God. Soul is it's connected to God. Soul is what can do the healing. It's through soul. So, but ego, I don't want to give ego that big head.
Isn't it crazy that ego is the same thing that wants the credit, but it's also the same thing that won't allow it to take it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so crazy that you said that.
Isn't it so? But it's like, that's maybe the healthiest ego. When your ego is the constant balance, and then your soul is the one that walks in and lets ego have it on one side or the other.
Yeah.
Your soul's like the balancer of the scales between two egos.
Yeah, soul would just decide which one is the correct.
Yeah, but it's always your ego that the soul decides is right.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Okay, other weird ideas that are things that I hear you may or may not know about because of our common friends. What are jinn?
Oh, yeah. So in Islam, jinn are, so this is something that I didn't know about till actually I was coming home from a concert with my best friend, and my husband was supposed to go to this concert with me. It was, what's his name? Christy Teigen, that one, her husband. John Legend. So my husband and I,
what's a John Legend song?
All of me loves all of you. Like that one. Yeah. Okay. And so my husband and I were John Legend fans. I mean, politics and all that stuff kind of gets in the way. But I mean, I transmute all music anyways.
Me too. I'm sorry. I have to listen to Madonna sometimes. Like,
yeah,
sorry.
Exactly. Sorry. I know your history and I know what you're about, but transmute it to all good energy coming out from it, So we were supposed to go together and he had got us tickets, and he ended up having a football game. He played for the UAE National American Football League, and he had a game that night, and he was like, sorry, babe, I can't go. And I was like, it's okay. I'll just go with my girlfriend. We'll hold hands together. We'll give each other roses and take pictures together. Yeah, she'll be my date for them. And on the way back, she told me about jinn. And I was like, wait a minute, like, what is going on? Where have I been living? I've been living under a rock. And so basically in Islam, jinn, God created jinn before he created humans. So he created jinn out of fire. So jinn are created out of fire. No, wait. Yep, jinn are created out of fire. And humans were created out of dirt. And so he created this jinn, and he gave them amazing gifts. Like they can just travel in, like they could be here and be somewhere else in any amount of time. They could live for hundreds of years. They could, communicate in the mind. So they had all these amazing gifts. And God had a favorite jinn, and his name was Iblis. Iblis, I believe it's Iblis or Idris or something like that. And it was his favorite jinn. And he actually brought him up to paradise. He brought him up to heaven. And God was creating humans at the time. And as he was creating these beings out of dirt, humans, and he took his breath and he breathed in the dirt, and we formed, he told Iblis to bow to my favorite creations. And he refused, and all the angels bowed, because angels can't refuse God. Like there's no such thing as a fallen angel, because angels are just all good, all pure. They're like souls. Mm-hmm. Our souls are like angelic. They're all good, all pure. They have no ego. And so they bowed to the humans. And so this jinn, he was like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not bowing to them. Like they're made out of dirt. I'm made out of fire. They have nothing. I have everything. I'm not going to do it. And God was like, well, come on, you can't disobey me. I'm God. And he was like, give me a chance to prove to you that these creations that you've made are not good, are not what you created them to be. So let me do that. And God gave him this opportunity to prove to God that these creations are not worthy of
being his favorite.
Yeah, being his favorite. And that's basically what jinn are. And jinn actually live in a different dimension. They can see us, but we can't see them.
And it's really not that they're evil. They just refuse our superiority over them.
No, there's some jinn that are not evil at all, right? There's some jinn that they have every religion. So they have Christian jinns, Jewish jinns, they have every religion. But Idris, I don't want to say the wrong name. He was a very favorite. So he was a kind of like, I would say, I don't want to give him this, but a prophet in a way, because he was chosen by God, so he has a following. And
he almost had a story similar, like when you were telling me first, it was like, oh, this is similar to the story of Enoch. Like he got to go up to and sit with God, and was like his favorite, like his chosen thing at a time. And it sounds almost like, in a way, like Enoch was there before Adam and Eve. And so somewhere there's a missing part of the Bible that we just hear Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden, here we go. But then also it reminded me really similar of the story of Lilith. And she also was very scorned, like somewhere her name gets totally kind of mutilated throughout history, but she seemed to exist in a place before Adam and Eve. And so it's just really interesting, the amount of historical. Somewhere I just wonder if every religion couldn't just layer on top of each other instead of battle each other so much. It's like if they would allow each other to tell each other their story without having to be like, no, this conflict's mine because of this date and time that is put forth to us now. Like, let's wash away the date and time and let's just see if we can connect some of these same tales.
100%. And I think that's, that relates to kind of my journey of knowing the Torah and knowing the Bible and knowing the Quran. I'm able to kind of relate these stories together and be like, oh, that sounds really familiar. I mean, that's the same story. That's the same story. That's the same story. How come I've never heard about jinn? And then just recently I heard about Enoch, and I started looking up Enoch and what's God called, or Jesus Enlil or something like that, in that story. And so I've been looking up that, and everything kind of comes full circle, right? Everything comes full circle in the end. And so this was just something that it wasn't a limiting belief, but it was a belief that I think, like, okay, for example, the story Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. I was meditating and I got a download that basically Adam and Eve were humans and they were on a very high frequency. Right? They're on earth, and earth is heaven. This is heaven. Like, this is it. This is it. Like, this is heaven. There is nowhere else. It's just a frequency that you're going to be on. So Adam and Eve were sent to earth or created on earth with such a high frequency, being able to get whatever they wanted, being able to manifest anything their heart desires. They wanted a river, the river was there. They wanted a fish, the fish was there. They wanted a fruit, the fruit was there. Everything was there for them. I mean, obviously they didn't know materialistic things yet, but they could have anything they wanted, even if they wanted something materialistic. Then all of a sudden, the snake that comes, and the snake is a low vibration, and the snake is a dense energy that wants to pull them down. And as they accepted this gift from the snake, their vibration started to lower. And so they were lowered into this low frequency that we're currently living and lowering ourselves. Like, earth is lowering its frequency with all the trauma that's happening, war, trauma, anger, fear. And as these people are waking up, their vibration is rising, and we are kind of going back to the frequency of Adam and Eve, and just realizing that where we live is earth, is heaven. And everything that's around us is everything that we need or want or, could ask for.
I've gone back and forth because I'm like, vegan is a psyop. I say that my wife is a vegan. She has a vegan company. She has been for a long time. She's not a package vegan. But I've been like, vegan is a psyop. Like, I don't agree with it at all. And Bill Gates sold it to us just so he could sell us fake meat. But then I've also, in my like 5D brain, have thought like, no, if you didn't fear anything, like, what's this fear of like necessity? Like, we probably all drank from the same river, every species once, and we looked left and looked right, and no species feared another species. But the second the first tiger darted at the first rabbit, and then it was so. Like, the first time, and man probably did that, but it was out of fear of something, like a fear you were going to get more than me, a fear I wasn't going to have enough, maybe a fear my kids weren't going to have enough. Somewhere there was something done to us that triggered everything in the opposite direction.
The low vibration, right? So this low vibration that came to us, kind of, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's worry, it's greed, it's all of this is the low vibration.
What if it was the food? What if it wasn't the knowledge at all? What if it was actually the food? The snake convincing her to take a bite of the thing was like, what if she never needed a bite of anything before? There was no reason to put nutrition in yourself like that.
There actually isn't. And I mean, there's people who don't rely on food anymore. I mean, I've known a few people who, don't need to really eat if they don't need to. The sun is the food source, because we're basically plants. We're basically just really intelligent plants. And you can see pieces of us throughout nature. Like, you cut open a tomato and it looks like this, and you cut open grapes look like your lungs. And we're just basically, that's why we ground ourselves. That's why we imagine roots going into Gaia. Like, we're plants. And I believe we really one day might not even need food, or if we could get back to that connection with source and with the sun. Because why do they want to always block out the sun? Why are they always chemtrailing the sun? Like, why are they always, what's the threat of the sun other than to make everything grow, including us, and heal us, because the sun is light. And they wanted to put the sun as, it's going to give you cancer. You should never look at the sun. It's very dangerous to look at the sun. And we know sun gazing is like one of the best ways to kind of open your third eye. I mean, I sun gaze all the time. I lay down in my meditation with my eyes closed, looking directly up at the sun. And yeah, the sun is just all powerful, and we're just really powerful plants.
And moon energy too. And think of how a plant needs the moon for its whole cycle, how important it is. And the more in science they're finding out, like moonlight's actually cooler than, like the shade around it, whereas sunlight's warmer than the shade around it. My brain has philosophized the other thing, that every single thing put on the planet was to teach humans how to do something. So even a tiger was to teach humans how to hunt solo. Wolves were to teach humans how to live in a pack. An elephant was taught humans how to migrate, or how to, lift things like with their arm in a strong way, like they use their trunk. But I kind of love your philosophy of, they were just manifesting instantly things into existence. And if we didn't need necessity of clothes or cars or houses or jewelry or whatever, we would just manifest. Like, if I could create for you a tiger, like, you would be blown away at you did this for me today. You sat all day in your meditation and created me this stripe whiskered thing that walked like that. And then you would create me like, come to the beach. You're going to love this. And a whale spout comes up, like that kind of creation, or like, wait till you see the waterfall I created for you. Imagine just two souls completely in love, walking around this free, perfect manifestable existence and creating a planet out of love for each other, and a God, a source energy that exists in both of them, just getting to exist in a place of pure love and creation and imagination. That is heaven on earth.
Because if you look at kids, like when kids draw something, you'll be like, what's that? They'll be like, oh, it's a blah, 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 blah. They just draw whatever they want to draw.
What the hell?
They just draw whatever they feel like. So imagine Adam and Eve just saying, I'm going to create you this thing, and this is going to be called a tiger, or I'm going to create you this thing, and this is called, this is a fish, and this is a parrotfish. Why don't we make it blue with it? Look at this bird. Let's make it like this bird and put it in the ocean. Why can't that happen?
And then to create together sometimes, where they sit and they were like, ooh, you add whatever you want to it, and I'll add whatever I want to it.
Yeah. And you got a flamingo or something.
A zebra.
A zebra.
I know.
I want it black. You wanted it white. Let's just make it stripes.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful. And then if you think of things like how you were saying, we're just plants and we have all these things, and you cut it open. If you really take so many plants around the world and petals, they represent every kind of animal and every kind of skin and every kind of thing on the planet. Every color that our eyes have ever seen, there's like a petal that exists of that color. It's pretty, it's pretty fantastic. I have this other, that I don't know who said it, but their idea was like, we're just here to facilitate plants getting to the places they never could without us. Like, plants don't have legs, so they can't get to the tallest mountains because winds don't blow up that high past the clouds, but we can walk the seeds there. And
everybody's using everyone.
Yeah. What are your thoughts of psychedelics?
Psychedelics. So I've never done any. And, I was really in the beginning of this journey. I was like, I got to do it. I got to do some shrooms. I got to do some, what is that other one where you kind of breathe in your big experience that you
DMT.
had? Yeah. DMT. I was like, I got to try that. And then now I'm just like, I'm pretty freaking crazy on my own in a sense. Like I'm just sitting there and I just go connect with source, and I'm crying, and source is telling me a story, and something's happening, and I'm getting a download, and something's going on. I'm like, I really don't need any drugs for this. Like, DMT's in my brain already, right? It's just being activated through meditation, and meditation turned on my own DMT. So I'm freaking having an outer body experience. Like, I'm flying in the sky, and I'm doing a lot of things that you told me your experience was about. I'm kind of having similar experiences, but just not all at one time, in a slower process.
I almost, the slower process of everything, it's even with people's conspiracy awakening or truth to the government and politics awakening. I feel like I had 15 or 20 years to kind of bite off small pieces of that and, regurgitate it out, hear what parts sounded dumb or ridiculous and what parts had some merit. Whereas some people have really just gotten this whole political news in the last year of everything from Pizzagate to Haiti to, communism in general. And it's just mind blowing to me how they handled it without going crazy. And so I do think somehow of the slow spiritual awakening, if you are able to attach to it and really put in the work, the DMT will make you, if you don't have a strong support system around you, you could go off the rails a little afterward. You have to be ready to I'm going to quit my job and maybe go on an endless summer surfing tour. You have no idea what your life is going to be after that moment. So it's be careful of what 20 minutes you decide to do DMT.
Yep. It's kind of I think Reiki full force, because I think Reiki is very healing at the same time. So when I've done Reiki on people, they tell me a week later they're divorcing their husbands, or I've done Reiki on people and all of a sudden they've, found a guy that they really wanted, and, just really, really strange things. And I feel like DMT is a very similar thing, where all of a sudden you have this spiritual awakening in your own sense, but it's more throw it in your face, all layers at once, or
the snakes and the fake peanut brittle can, where you open you're here, I got you a gift, and I open it and spring snakes pop out. That's what DMT is to your spiritual. You're
exactly.
What the fuck?
Exactly. And Reiki's more all right, it's an onion and we're going to peel away one layer at a time for you. And then we're going to peel away another layer at a time for you. And you're going to shed some tears, but don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And DMT is in your face, fuck you, kind of thing.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Before I totally get you out of here, what about Jamaican mermaids? What's this whole thing I just heard about of recent?
Yeah, so I was, just doing some searching and doing stuff like that. And apparently mermaids exist in Jamaica. And we've always learned about mermaids. We've always heard tales about mermaids. We've always, growing up, we were always pretending to be mermaids. And we'd go to the rivers and we'd go to the beaches and people would say, yeah, mermaid live in there, and we'd be oh, okay, that's cool, and of course they're that's only fairy tales, that's only pretend. And so as I was doing some research recently, people were telling stories about mermaids actually living in the water, and people actually going in the water with jewelry on, and mermaids ripping off the jewelry and taking away all the jewelry from them, or mermaids not liking your period. If you have your period and you go into this mermaid water, the mermaid would actually scratch you up and get really upset because you're dirty in a sense, and you've come into her water. And so there's all these tales, mermaid tales that go on in Jamaica. And I'd love to experience one, but apparently they don't look like what we think they look like.
They're not pretty, is what I hear.
Yeah, they're not pretty. And that was kind of disappointing. I'm transmuting that. That's changed. They're going to be beautiful.
The story of Medusa is that she was actually breathtakingly beautiful, but you could only the person that would see her inner beauty would see her how she really was. So anyone that was there for nefarious purposes to just sleep with her or just, whatever, they would only see her as what they feared the most. So she actually was divinely beautiful.
That's an amazing story. That just made me feel so good, because then mermaids could be really beautiful, right? We just need to see the pureness of them for them to be beautiful. So maybe that's humans in general. Maybe that's a lot of things. We were just talking about fire and darkness and water and all these things they made us fear, other people, ourselves. Maybe that's the same thing. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder type thing. Yeah, definitely. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All knowledge is in source. All questions that you need to get answered are all there. So it's just, everything's in front of you. It's in front of your face. It's in front of your eyes. It's just how you're going to see it, how you're going to connect to it, how you're going to feel it is all through you.
I have loved sitting down with you. I feel energetically, my heart feels a little swelled. I feel like my words are kind of slower to come by, where I'm not hand picking them out of nerves. It's just like I have a ton of energy, but also feel relaxed at the same time. It's like internal energy.
Amazing.
But what if you want to leave anyone with anything, and then feel free to tell everyone where to find you. I know people that have had personal experiences with you that I could give you a ton of compliments, but I kind of didn't want to share any of their personal experiences of stuff that I know. But I do think you're a miracle worker, and I do think miracles, maybe we think they're really rare, but we need to just start being authentic and asking for help, and then the universe will facilitate the helper or healer. And I think you're one of those people, definitely. So how does everyone find you? And if you need to tell everyone everything, or any good words you have to leave everyone with, feel free.
Well, you can find me on my Instagram page. So it's earth.angel.reiki. And and so, I for my services, I don't charge. Like, I don't charge anything. Whether you want to, I have a GoFundMe page. So whether you want to give me some funds, that's up to you. Whether you don't, I don't expect anything. I don't ask for anything, because basically, if I was to charge for a session, somebody has already paid for your session because they've doubled whatever I was going to charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it all comes back.
It all comes back. So whether you don't pay me, whether you do pay me, just it's already been paid by someone else, and you're just paying it forward for somebody else, kind of thing. So it's kind of like karma. So you're just putting out that good karma into the world. It's just that opportunity for you to put out that good karma into the world, for that good karma to come back at you. And in my Reiki session, I do cut karma. So any negative karma that's coming towards you, or, because karma can come from any life. Like, I look at karma like a ripple. When you throw a stone in there, the small little karma kind of just makes a little ripple, while the big karma that you did makes a big ripple. And those ripples take a longer time to come back at you. So karma can follow you forever until it's fully resolved. And so in Reiki, we cut karma. And so, I don't charge anything. I mean, my whole goal in life is kind of just to heal one soul at a time, because when you heal one soul, you're basically healing 30,000 people attached to that person. So if you heal a little piece of you, you're healing a little piece of your kids, your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, the mailman. Like, anyone who's come in contact with you, you're healing a piece of them as well. So my husband today, I was telling him that, and he was like, okay, there's 8 billion people in the world divided by 30,000. So you need to heal 200,000 people in order to heal the world. And I was like, let's go. I'm ready. Let's, how many have I healed so far? So he was really, he was like, good luck with that. And I was like, well, there's many Reiki workers, there's many light workers. So if you divide up, like, say there is 100,000 light workers, then, we've cut that number down so fast. And I just feel with everything happening in the world, this very dense, heavy energy, a lot of people need some extra support in their energy, support in their vibes, to raise their vibrations, to get out of this slump that they've been put in, not by themselves, like by society, by the world has put them into this slump, and they just need a helping hand to kind of pull them out of this hole that they're stuck in. And that's what we're here for.
I love it. I love you. Thank you for hanging out with me, Bianca.
Thank you so much, Chaney. Like, I'm so honored to be on your show. Like, so honored. You have no idea. Like, I've followed your journey, and I've seen you become who you've become. And I'm so proud of you in for doing your gift. And this is your dream that you've manifested. So it's really an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Even a person like you saying the word honor to me is touching.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, Bianca.
Bye, Chaney.
So she has been Chaney, and now she's off to smoke a blunt. See you next Tuesday, you fucking cunts.
This is my first time on a podcast, so I'm like, ooh. I was like,
yeah, this is my first time doing one. And I was looking back at our comments when I was going to write this, and I thought it was funny that I'm like, we're totally going to have to do a podcast one day. And I didn't even have this yet, I don't think.
Yeah, no, you didn't. And then slowly it started, like you manifested this into your reality.
And I was so scared to do it alone. That was like my number one fear, was just failing by myself.
Well, I think we're all in the same boat. We're all, like, the whole group of us are all starting things that are just meant for us to be doing right now.
It's so exciting.